Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're asking, is there some kind of double standard associated with the Thai Prime Minister? Now, the reason for the thumbnail, if anybody's ever watched the film Inglourious Basterds, a great Tarantino movie, Brad Pitt plays Lieutenant Aldo Raine, and there's this great scene where he's there with, they're getting ready to go in on this covert mission to basically liaise with this woman that's a spy in behind enemy lines in Nazi-occupied France. And they have to rendezvous in a basement, and Lieutenant Aldo Raine just keeps going on and on about how you don't want to fight in a basement. You know, whatever you do, you don't want to fight in a basement. And finally, I don't remember the character's name, but it's played by Michael Fassbender. He's the lieutenant there, Hickox, I think was his name. He's standing there and she says, hey, look, she's an actress. She's not a military strategist. And then he turns around and says, well, you don't got to be Stonewall Jackson to know you don't want to fight in a basement, you know. And I just, you know, the point of the thumbnail is, look, we're going to get into this kind of double standard and this, in my opinion, this attempt to spin on the part of, if you will, both maybe the Pheu Thai party or the Shinawat faction within it, or just the Prime Minister's office itself to sort of spin this all as, well, you know, she didn't really know what she was doing, or it was a negotiation tactic, or whatever, you know. And I have to ask, and again, I don't want this to become some battle royale of the sexes. I actually rather liked Yingluck for the most part when she was Prime Minister, mostly because I'm a fan of stability in Thailand. I just, you know, I think most political chicanery is exactly that. It's chicanery. It's basically, especially in this new era of politics where everybody is basically a celebrity, they're not even statesmen anymore. I stated that in prior videos where it was like, what are these people doing? Why don't they get into parliament and actually pass laws and do some things that are good for people? And by the way, that doesn't include just passing whole cloth stuff that the World Economic Forum hands you. That's not what I'm talking about. But figure out what the people need. That's the point of having representation in parliament, and then enacting legislation that helps the people. You know, instead of acting like some kind of celebrity or, you know, red carpet walker or something that then happens to hold a political office. You know, so the reason for this, though, I saw a recent article in the Nation, nationthailand.com. Article is titled, PM Paetongtarn deletes Instagram post and cancels advisory team meeting. Quoting directly, Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra posted on her Instagram story in English before deleting it. She had canceled the meeting with her advisory team at Pitsanalok Mansion, made at 8:15 a.m. on Thursday. It read, people don't fake depression, they fake being okay. Remember that, be kind. Sorry, sweetie. You know, I mean, this isn't a matter of your depression. This isn't a matter of kindness or decorum, okay? You know, was it kind to the Thai people to get on the phone with Hun Sen and call him uncle and say that our own military commander was the opponent? I mean, my point here is, and again, I don't want this to be some big battle of the sexes thing, but I asked it in a prior video. If this was a man that did this, would they even be allowed to have made the apology and then kind of spin this up and still be nominally in the chair of the prime ministership? I doubt it. Why? Because men are expected to know you don't get on the phone with your counterparty in a conflict of this nature and give them everything. You know, you don't get on the phone and call them uncle. You don't get on the phone and just, oh, hey, we'd like to open the border simultaneously. No, I want to do it later. And just kind of like cave on all that stuff. I'm sorry, but that's just not the right move. And again, as I've discussed in other videos, I want to believe that there was no ill intent here. I genuinely want to believe that. I really hope there wasn't, although it's hard to see how, but whatever. Especially when you're directly calling the head of our military operation up there the opponent. But setting that aside, okay, if you couldn't see that, then, you know, how can it be right to stay in that job? And to my mind, you know, if you're being honest with yourself, you would say, look, I'm out of my depth. I need to step aside and let somebody who can handle this deal with it. Because that would be the right move here. You know, going back to the thumbnail, you don't got to be Stonewall Jackson to know you don't undermine your own field commander. You know, Again, I don't want to get into this sort of battle of the sexes because that's not what this is about. I've seen very competent female leadership that's out there. But I really have to question the competence of anyone who would, in a circumstance like this, who would get on a phone call and operate the way that she did. So what I'm hoping is that this all resolves peacefully. I hope it resolves peacefully along the border, or as peacefully as it can. You know, put the past behind us, come to some kind of working resolution, de-escalate from there, and then try to build consensus as time moves forward. Meanwhile, you know, I've discussed in other videos, I've seen the way Thai partisanship can rip this city apart. I've seen it firsthand. I don't want to see any more of that. And it doesn't look to me like virtually anybody wants to see that either. You know, I've discussed that in other videos I've already made. That said, you know, I'm just really, frankly, down in the dumps about all of this, and I really question why this prime minister is continuing based on what we saw transpire last week.